Today, we are going to be talking about amplifying your voice without becoming a social media influencer. That's the topic that we're talking about today because
You're listening to the Build Your Vision podcast, a podcast series about maneuvering the ups and downs of building a life that you're proud of, captured in real time. A community where dreamers become doers and doers become world changers. Let's go.
what's the difference between successful and unsuccessful visionaries? Not how clearly they could see the vision. Lots of people could see their vision very clearly. It's how clearly do you see the things that make your vision possible? That is the key difference. So people are one of those things. You cannot do it. There's nothing to offer if there's no people. There's no people to serve if there's no people. There's no way to spread virality of your message if there's no people to spread the message, right? You need to have people. You need to have strategic partnerships. You need to have relationships. But those can be challenging to do. Just from a raise of hands, have you ever felt overcome, overwhelmed, overstimulated by the rapid pace of changing communication practices? If that's you, just put me in the chat. One day it's email, the next day is social media, next day it's search engine optimization, next day it's podcast, then it's mass text messaging and automation. Now it's AI, artificial intelligence. You're like, what? Hold on, slow down. Like, how are we? It seems like every quarter there's a new thing that has to be done in order for you to be effective, right? It is overwhelming. What is going on? How do you know what to focus on? How do you know how to connect with the right people? How do you know connect with the people that can make your vision a reality? How do you know how to make strategic partnerships? How do you know to separate what's real from what's fake? How do you know how to build an audience? How do you know how to find your community? How do you know to make new friends? Like all these different things, it is overwhelming. But I submit to you that there is a way to connect, a way to collaborate, a way to contribute to and with people that is both ageless and timeless so that you don't have to keep reinventing the wheel. And you can use this method, this model, continuously. So if you want to know what that is, say yes in the chat so I know that we are ready to go right into this head first. All right, cool. I'm seeing some yeses in there. So let's just let's address the elephant in the room, right? And that elephant is digital media. Digital media, that seems to be the saving grace and yet the necessary evil that plagues humanity, right? And it does a great job of doing those two things at the same time. But let's look at some pros and cons of social media, right? Some pros are it gives you global reach, right? It gives you leverage. And what is leverage? Leverage simply means you can have the same amount of input but get an exceedingly exponential output. That's what leverage is. So you could do the same thing with not using digital media and get one input, get one output, and then do the same exact thing with digital media. There's this fire truck going by my house, if you can hear that. And you could get an exponentially greater output because you use digital media as leverage, right? That's another pro. It makes things easily findable. It makes you easily findable. That's another one. You are way easier to find because the marketplace has moved online. Just a few years ago, we would have said, oh, it's super easy to find you in the yellow pages or the white pages or whatever it was. Same thing, just different, medium of finding people, right? Now it's Google, now it's Facebook or whatever it is, internet searches. You are way easier to be found if you have a digital media presence. Number four, it helps you build relationships at scale. It helps you build rapport and relationships at scale. You can do this one-on-one, of course, but if you could do it a whole lot of people at one time, once again, that's leverage, it's beneficial to you. It provides geographic freedom. You don't even know where I'm recording this right now. Some of you might know where, I reside, but I could easily be in an Airbnb right now if I had internet connection and be doing this because digital media, this is a digital medium, provides me geographic freedom. It has an evergreen nature to it, which just means you can make something today and it could be serving you perpetually over time, right? It just never gets old. It keeps serving you 10 years, 15 years, 17 years from now. And lastly, it provides immediate feedback. It provides immediate feedback. Those are some of the good things about digital media. But let's look at some of the cons that come with this, right? Cons requires additional time and effort. I don't care what you see on YouTube. I don't care how they say it's passive. It's not passive. Okay. It's passive once you do the work, but you got to do the work. It requires time and effort. It requires a high level of communication skills. One of my favorite authors is Daniel Priestley. He's a business coach and consultant, and he had a quote that really struck me. I don't want to mess it up, but basically it was saying that people who make money aren't the ones that know how to work microphones. It's the people who know how to sing. Right? So that you can take all the social media courses that you want. It don't matter. If you don't know how to communicate at a high level, you are a person who's tone deaf with a microphone, essentially, right? So you have to develop a high level of communication skills. That's just comes to the territory. And that partially is because there's such a wealth of information out there, right? At the swipe of a finger, if you are not hitting on all cylinders while communicating with somebody, they can easily just swipe to the next person and get a better result. So that's why the competition is so high, which is a con of digital media. Thirdly, it can become addictive. You never want to get high on your own supply, right? Well, it's so easy to do when it comes to digital media because you are inserting yourself into an environment that is designed to be addictive, right? Not only for the consumers, but also for the creators, because you get this immediate feedback loop, which we see is one of the cons that I will address. But it can become addictive, which is not necessarily the best thing for mental health and things like that. Number 4, it makes you vulnerable. And that simply means more people can have an opinion about you. Now, of course, we could say we don't care what people think, which it can be true to a degree. But you're a human, so you do care. You care what people think. You just might not care as much as you care about something else, but you care, right? So there's something that you have to take into consideration while you put yourself out there using digital media. You are making yourself more vulnerable to various opinions about you. Number 5, it changes at a rapid pace. Like I said earlier, it feels like as soon as you start to get a hold of what's going on, Chat GPT 4.0 come out, and you're like, you know what, I give up. I'm done. I can't do this no more. It's now we got robots writing dissertations and stuff. I can't do this. So it's always changing, right? Which can be very frustrating, which is why we're going to talk about what we're going to talk about today, things that are ageless or timeless. Number 6, it requires various levels of technical skills. So this can expand. This is on a spectrum, right? It could be understanding how to type for a post to all the way knowing how to do intense video editing skills, right? Like these are some of the things that come with the territory of using digital media. And lastly, which was also number 7 on the pros of digital media, it is also a two-sided coin. It provides immediate feedback, which means if the feedback is not positive, you know right away, which no matter how you put it, affects you emotionally and mentally. Like if you put something out there that you care about and are passionate about, and it gets either no feedback or poor feedback, you care about that and it makes you feel some type of way, right? So you have to take that in consideration. It could be a great thing if you get positive feedback, and it could be a pretty emotionally harmful thing possibly if you get poor feedback. So those are some things to keep in consideration. But there is a strategy to increase the pros and decrease the cons. That is pretty much the only way we could get out of this thing to a degree scot-free. You can't eliminate the cons, and you can't, keep only the pros, but you can increase the pros and decrease the cons. And this is how we're going to do this. Um, the key to amplifying your voice without becoming a social media influencer can be summed up in one word. And that word is, some of you who are in the online business space might have been familiar with this word, and it's leads. Leads. What is a lead? A lead is simply an individual who has given you permission to contact them. That is what a lead is. So you may not have even known you got a bunch of leads. You didn't even know it. See, anybody that has given you permission to contact them is a lead. Everybody in your phone book, everybody in your contact list, everybody in your email contact list, all the people that follow you on social media. All these things are leads. All these people are people who have given you permission to contact them. Now, there's one thing that's better than a lead, and that is an engaged lead. What's the difference between just a regular lead and an engaged lead? An engaged lead is someone who has given you permission to contact them about a specific topic or opportunity, right? So, homegirl that you go out to brunch with, yeah, she's giving you you have her contact information. You could get in contact with her, but she really don't care about your next art show or whatever you're doing, right? But she didn't give you necessarily permission to contact her about that. You can't keep promoting stuff to her in that way because she hasn't expressed to you that she's interested, right? So this is somebody who has explicitly shown interest in a topic or opportunity that you have to offer. This is an engaged lead. And the game is getting as many engaged leads as possible. When you have a bunch of engaged leads, you are cooking with grease. When a whole bunch of people have shown interest in the opportunity that you have to offer, you are really off to the races. So this this concept that I'm about to share with you is actually coined the core four by a guy named Alex Hormozy. If you're really deep into entrepreneurship, you've probably seen this Sasquatch of a guy on YouTube. But once you see him, you're going to see him later, like 5 months from now, and you're going to be like, oh, Cleveland was right. He wasn't exaggerating. He has this concept called the core four. I call it the lead quadrant, but it is going to actually be the system that we use to do this. So you have this quadrant, right? 4 pieces. So on the y-axis, you have one-to-one versus one-to-many, right? You can have a private interaction. That means one-on-one. It's just you and me, we're talking. And then you can have a one-to-many conversation. That means it's me speaking to multiple people at one time. And then on the x-axis, so the y-axis is vertical, x-axis is horizontal, you have people who you know and people who you don't know. And this creates this quadrant, right? So you have warm outreach, that is private one-to-one conversations with people you know. This is called warm outreach. Then you have cold outreach. This is private one-to-one conversations with people you don't know, strangers. Then you have post-free content. We're pretty all familiar with this because we've all consumed this. This is one-to-many communication. And then you have with people you do know, or people that know you at least, right? They at least know you. And one-to-many communication with people who you don't know or people who don't know you. And this is either running paid ads or pay for platforms. This is actually what I've changed this to because I'm not necessarily in the paid ad game yet. So I cannot talk about that really with any type of sure knowledge. So these are the 4 quadrants that you can do. Basically, this might sound really like forward thinking, but you can start doing this literally tonight. Warm outreach. If you pick up your phone right now, if you pick up your phone right now, you go to your contacts, you have, I don't know how many hundred of warm leads that you can reach out to. That is warm outreach. Literally, I have done this multiple times. I just hit up people on my phone. Now, we're going to talk about what I say later, but this is somebody that I can literally just reach out to because I know them and they know me. And we're communicating on a one-on-one basis, right? Then you have cold outreach. This might sound scary. You're like, how am I going to reach people that I don't know? I don't know them. They don't know me. Just, I don't know how many times you leave your house during the week, but how many people do you think that you come in contact with that you don't know, right? And possibly that you end up having some level of communication with almost every single day if you leave the house. You are talking to strangers every single day. Cold outreach every single day. I'm just letting you know how practical this is. This is not super far-fetched. This is within your league right now. Post free content. I'm pretty sure everybody on here has a Facebook account, and you've posted something on Facebook in the past or in the present. You could have posted something today. I don't know, but you can post free content online. That's one-to-many communication. So that's something that you could do, or you can pick whatever platform it is for you. LinkedIn, Instagram, TikTok. I don't know what it is. You could be out there. Snapchat. I don't know. But you can do one-to-many communication. And then the last one, this might be the one that might be the most foreign to you, but it's really not that foreign. And this is pay for other people's platforms, OPP, right? Other people's platforms. A way that you can do this, it doesn't not have to be a financial transaction. You can just pay with value. So let me give an example of what that is, right? I can say, hey, so-and-so who is, I know our target audiences are converging, right? We kind of hit the same group of people. I could reach out to them and say, hey, I am doing a week-long challenge and I made this reel that provides value to your specific target audience. Would you mind posting it if I posted your next 5 posts on my page? I just want you to do one post of mine. Post it on your story because I know you have a slightly bigger following than me. And for the next 5 days, I will post your post on my page, right? That is a trade of value. That is me in a way paying for another person's platform. You could very well do this in another way. Lots of people have done this on Twitter. They will pay an account to retweet their tweet. So they know an account has their target audience. They have a bigger following them. Hey, I'll pay you to retweet my tweet if you think it's something that will serve your audience. And because of that retweet, they are able to reach a larger group of people. So these are some ways. And of course, you can run paid ads like Facebook ads or Instagram ads. But I'm not super familiar with that pay to play. So I'm not going to necessarily speak to that as of right now. But these are the 4 ways that you can reach people no matter what time, era, or moment or season that we are in history, because you're always going to know people and people are always going to know you. You're always going to have to go out in public and talk to people. You're always going to be able to make content and have people see it. And you're always going to be able to provide value in order to access someone's platform. That will always exist no matter how many times that changes. I don't know. In the next few years, we might be FaceTime teleporting to talk to people. I have no idea. But the principle holds true that you can do this. Now, there's something here that I want to talk about that has worked best for me, because primarily this is taught you need to do one until you exhaust it, and you do the next quadrant until you exhaust that quadrant. But I've approached it this way. This is something I call the hybrid zone. And the hybrid zone is you being prepared for all 4 of these at all times, right? Because every day is going to be different. Some days you're going to be on the phone with a friend. Other days you're going to be out in public, whether you're at work, whether you're going to the DMV, whether you're going grocery shopping, you're talking to the cashier, whatever it is. You're going to be talking to different people each day. Content, right? That should be an ongoing thing. This pivot, the hybrid zone pivots you using social media or posting content, whether that's YouTube, podcast, instead of using it as a tactic to reach an audience, it is a tactic for it to be a portfolio for your audience to reference to. This completely changes how you look at posting on digital media because you're no longer looking for a response to that media. You're no longer looking for validation from the audience. Instead, you are constantly making these contacts. You are constantly reaching out to people on your contact list, on your email list, in your following list. You're constantly letting people know who you meet in public, what you're doing and what you're working on. And because of that, they are going to look you up. And when they look you up, you will have a portfolio of work that helps them go deeper in building the relationship with you, not using that medium to make the connection, if that makes sense. So it's really a backlog, an evergreen backlog of, hey, if you have met me, if I have made an impact on you, if you have somehow heard about me from word of mouth, being introduced by a friend to me or whatever, there is a body of work that you can refer to if you want to get to know more. Because I tell you, people reach out to me to get on the podcast all the time. You know the first place I go? Instagram. Oh, who is it? They want to be on the podcast? Okay, let me look them up. 2 posts. I know nothing about you. How am I supposed to judge whether you're going to be a good fit for the show? I know nothing about your personality. I know nothing that you talk about, your expertise. The answer is no. Like, let me go to the website. Do they have any? Okay, there's a whole bunch of static pages. There's no active, I cannot get a feel for this person at all. Now, that might have worked, 10 years ago, where all we had was static pages. But now there's so much competition out there of people who are actively putting out content. And I know exactly who they are. I know exactly what their message is. I know exactly what their personality and temperament is like. I'm going to go with them because at least I could trust them. I know who they are and what they're about. So now the posting free content, instead of becoming an audience building mechanism, which it can still operate as that, don't get me wrong, but now it's an audience validation system where you are meeting people, you are connecting people, you are making these collaborations and connections, and now they can validate the relationship by seeing your body of content. It completely reshapes how you view digital and social media. And then the pay for platforms. Now, this is something that you can do if you really want to, expedite the process. But this can only come by you first building those relationships. There's something that I learned from a gentleman named Kevin Schmidlin. He has a show called Grow the Show. And he talks about this thing called targeted daily engagement. Up here on my Google Chrome homepage, it says watering holes. This is a list of accounts and Facebook groups that I intentionally interact with, if not every day, multiple times a week, right? Because these are people who I know their audience converges with mine. And I want them to know who I am. I want them, when they see my profile picture and then they see me in person and they see me wearing that 7 on my hat, they're like, I've seen this guy somewhere, right? I know him. I'm not wearing the 7 hat today. This is a rare time, but I told you it's higher education today, so I wore my academic hat. But this is literally what I do for targeted daily engagement. So when I reach out to the person, like, hey, can you post on your story? I will either pay you or whatever form of bartering system that I'm using. They're like, this dude has been the first commenter on my post for like the past 3 months. Let me at least open his DM. Or I've DM'd them multiple times before. So the next time I DM him with an ask, I pop up in his primary DM, not his general DMs that he ignores or she ignores all the time, because they've already interacted with me. It's strategic, right? So targeted daily engagement, you have to be intentional about who you're working with. But these are things that are literally evergreen. Figuring out how to contact people and reach out to them and make yourself known is something that you could do no matter what situation you're in. Whether you're at a live event and you raise your hand to ask a question, or whether you go to speak to somebody after an event that no one else is speaking to. Everybody goes to the main keynote speaker, but you go to somebody else and actually build a real relationship. These are all things that are operating within the hybrid zone that you can do on a continuous basis. The linchpin that will make your vision possible is people. This is how you can have an ageless, timeless people system. Warm outreach, people that you already know and that know you. Cold outreach, you are talking to people every single day. I mean, it literally happens all the time. You're at the doctor's office. The doctor comes to you, say, "Hey, how's it going?" "Oh, I'm doing good. Been working on this thing for work." "Oh, really? Well, what do you do?" Boom. You shouldn't have asked that, brother. Now I'm about to tell you. "Oh, I do this, this, and this for this person, this person. Do you know anybody like that?" "Well, in fact, my daughter's trying to do it." Now we're on a whole new thing. And you didn't even realize you were talking to a lead the whole time. And by the time I leave that doctor's office, I have his daughter's contact information. He's already introduced both of us. She emailed me. I didn't even email her because she was interested in what I had to offer. And then she's in Visionpreneur School. Now she's a hot engaged lead. And now whatever we want, whenever I want to get in contact with her, whether it's through a DM or whether through an email, I could do it because cold outreach with a stranger. We never would have thought that would have been a hot lead, but it is. And we have those things every single day. Posting content. It's not about growing your audience and finding the next viral tactic and the next trend and the trending sounds and the AI to make your captions. It's about you building a portfolio that builds your authority, that shows that you have a certain expertise, that exhibits your personality, so that when people find out about you, they know that you're legit. This is how people are getting booked for speaking engagements. They look you up, they Google your name. If nothing comes up except for some wedding photos or you're a part of the bridal shower on Facebook, you're not getting booked. Okay. You got to post free content, not for the feedback, but for the portfolio. Now, of course, you want to look at the feedback so you can continue making better content. We already talked about that, but that's not the sole purpose of it. It has duality to it. And then, of course, the pay to play aspect of it, building those core relationships, doing targeted daily engagement, finding the accounts, finding the people that are serving the audience that you also want to serve. You're not in competition with them, you're in collaboration with them, right? A rising tide lifts all boats. Being intentional about that, you could do it. And here is the homework. Real simple. I want you to identify which of the core four you want to start with. Which one do you feel the most comfortable, most natural to do? Now, of course, we haven't solidified your pitch yet, but I want you to just start thinking about it. Okay, now I'm starting to be aware of the scenarios that I'm in every day. Who can I reach out to in my phone book? Who can I check up on? Literally, how I do this is I'm always checking up on people, point back, period. Whether I was trying to do anything or not, I'm always checking up on people. How are you doing? And, they usually ask, rule of reciprocity. How are you doing? And I tell them what I'm working on. Oh, I got this thing called Visionpreneurs. Like, I'm telling you, this is what I do. So which one do you want to start with? I know some people they feel cringy about, I don't really want to like reach out to people with, if I'm trying to like have them do something or so. You might feel more comfortable doing it with strangers, right? Or you might just feel better about, well, let me get some reps in posting some content. I haven't done it in a little minute. Whatever it is, I want you to pick which one you want to start with, but that's your homework.